Hi, and welcome to Dynamite Life, everyone. Today, I wanted to talk about a subject that's actually dear to my heart, not only video games, but how they can affect your relationships. We know that it can affect your relationships in many ways. I did wanted to talk about it. I wanted to bring along someone, though, that could really attest to my relationship with gaming, but also my relationship with them. So I will bring in my wonderful partner, Mickey, who stayed with me through all these games, and she knows exactly what it is to be a Winter gamer, but also to be a gamer herself. Maybe not a hardcore gamer. She doesn't like to refer to herself that way, but I think it's going to be very impactful to have her comments on this. So, without any further ado,
Got it. So, yeah, I mean, my name is Mickey, long-term partner here. I would say long-term gamer, but as, Daniel said, I definitely don't refer to myself as a hardcore gamer. For me, that's somebody that is playing on all systems, has a PC gaming setup, has like console setup, and also maybe plays mobile games as well.
And yeah, so I basically wanted to talk about the relationship between not only people in gaming in general, because we see it from two different point of view. Me being, of course, a male, you being a female, but also the attachment. You know that for me, it's always been something that I've always kind of carried with me. But you also saw when I couldn't play video games how I had to pivot, and now how I'm going back into playing video games. I know that we've had a lot of fun. We've had a lot of conversation around this. So I want to start with your history with gaming. Can you recall maybe an early moment, a moment where you knew, you know what, this is something fun and I like to do this?
I think I was probably super young, probably at least like maybe 4 or 5. And one of my dad's friends had like a pinball machine. So every time we'd go to his house, we'd play pinball, which is cool. Like it's obviously arcade gaming and a little bit different. But then once my cousins actually had a Nintendo, an NES, the original one, I was like hooked because we'd go over to their house, we'd play it, and then we just begged my mom and dad to get us a Nintendo. And finally, we did a couple of years later.
Well, that's what I like about kind of like video games, how it attached us to really being early. But I'm not mistaken that for you, it was kind of a family thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like once we had the NES like set up and we got it for Christmas, like my family, we literally used to stay up all like night pretty much playing Monopoly. So we'd pass around the controller and play Monopoly, all four of us. So my dad, my mom, my sister, and me. And then also, as time progressed, like my mom actually kind of got into video games, and we used to play Jack and Ryu. It's called Little Ninja Brothers. So it's super. So I was Jack, my mom was Ryu, and like on weekends we used to stay up super late and like just play this game until we beat it. And it was like a side scrolling kind of like beat 'em up, and you just progress through the levels in the different worlds, and it was so much fun. And it's crazy because like my mom was talking about it the other day, and like her face actually lit up when she was talking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like it was super fun for me and cool to have a mom that would actually play video games instead of saying like, hey, I don't want you playing these, or like, what are you doing with your life or your time. She was actually very supportive because I think for her it was more about spending time with us and just trying to like understand what we like to do so that she could kind of be in on the action as well.
So that's cool. That was like a thing that held your family together, like a thing that basically gave you something common to do together.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. It was really just like spending time together, So I really like cherish those moments now as an adult when I think about it. And it's something that like I want to do with like my nieces and nephews is to be able to like expose them to video games and like be able to like buy them their first like game or like maybe like help their parents like pick out a console for them or something when they're old enough, of course.
And I really like that. I like hearing that. That really put a smile on my face because for me it was pretty much the opposite. It was a lot of not really being able to play video game at that extent. My mother didn't understand. She thought I was, of course, wasting my time, rotting my brain, as they would say back
Yeah.
then. I do remember one moment. She picked up a controller once. We were playing, remember those bad wrestling games on the well, they were good. They're good on the 64. And she picked up a controller and she played once, and she was actually good at it. She was butt mashing, but she was good at it. She beat me a couple of times. I had to go under the ring and like grab a chair to be able to win a game. So I was cheating. And that's the only time though. My sister played Golden Eyes with me a little bit. I think the 64 was a console that people tried to play in my house, but it was definitely me and my brother that was more into video games.
I think it's still pretty cool that your mom actually picked up a controller to play video games
Oh yeah.
and she actually kicked your butt. That's pretty awesome because yeah, I mean, if you knew his mom, she's pretty like straight-laced, so the fact that she was playing a wrestling game, a beat 'em up, and she won, I mean, maybe it's not even just beginner's luck, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was something there where she had a natural talent. She could have, kept on going, and maybe she would have been a streamer right now with all that free time.
Darn it, mom. You missed your
But
calling.
yeah, I think that's still me. That was actually speaking of the Nintendo 64. That's when I realized something special about you because when we met, our relationship was not it was not around video games. We talk about movies a lot and stuff like that. But I remember when we moved together, I saw you had like a Nintendo 64 and you had like the gold cartridge of no, which one was it? The Zelda game?
I
Not
think
Link to the
it's
Past,
Majora's
Majora's
Mask.
Mask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that girl has a golden cartridge, she must also have a golden heart. But she definitely has a passion for video game. And then at that moment, I think I wanted to reignite that passion because if I'm not mistaken, that passion was kind of gone for you. So someone was able to snuff that little light out of you. So you had a moment where video games was a little bit more negative for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had negative experiences playing video games. I'm not, I'm someone that like I grew up with like a Nintendo console, so I'm not used to playing like online games or PC games online or playing with like a group of people or strangers like that, or like a lot of shooters because Nintendo is obviously very like family friendly and like oriented like that. So once I kind of grew up and I realized that, people were playing PlayStation and Xbox and stuff, it was kind of out of my wheelhouse. So, I was dating a person at a time and he wanted me to play Xbox with him. I'm like, cool, no problem. Like I love video games. So we started playing Halo and he just kind of like threw me in and we were actually playing against each other against maybe like two computers or something like that, but of course like because we're not on the same team, like he would just rip me apart. Like I was just dying over and over again. I didn't understand the buttons, I didn't understand the controls or like really the concept of the game. And after a while, like after you keep losing and the person doesn't want to take the time to like show you or teach you or like, hey, let's do a practice run or let's play together on the same team and go against the computer just to make you feel a little more like powerful. Um, yeah, so I mean that's kind of like what happened there. But did you want to talk about Assassin's Creed? Dynamite, I think your mic is off. Let's see here.
Hey,
Hey.
what you a lot of people. Really sorry. So I think that that happens generally um, with just the way that guys sometimes do their gaming, where competitive things become very serious at some point. So
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe it's like the challenge of like winning or like knowing that you're better than somebody else. But I mean, it's like picking on the weakest person in the room, right? Like, like I'm literally no threat to you whatsoever, or like no challenge. So, how about having like a little bit of a challenge or trying to like do it together would have been nice. So, I mean, after that, like I was kind of like turned off of Xbox for sure. Like, I didn't like holding the controller. I didn't want to play shooters or anything that was like super competitive or online because it just was such a turn off for me.
and I think I recognized that very early on. And I'm someone personally that when I play video game, I rather play with someone that's good. And if they're not there because they don't know how to play, then it's not fair. So they have to get the time to kind of just get used to it. And then you really can have fun, right? I think that losing some games is fun sometimes. It makes you step up your game. And speaking of stepping up my game, when we were together, so the whole thing with me is I do believe that when you have an open world game, it's easier to just give the controller to someone and let them learn on their own. Just knowing that there's not a lot of repercussion that can happen. So what I did with you is just wanted to know if you were still engaged, if you still wanted to play. So at the time I was playing Black Flag, and I'm like, I saved. I created my own save file. I'm gonna give her the controller, and I'm just gonna tell her like, hey, there's that one thing, that one mission. Can you like wrap it up for me? And I think that by doing that, I was able to just like slowly pass the controller because I was like, hey, can you just do that while I'm doing this? And then she would hold the controller for like 5-10 minutes, and then I remember like you would play, and then you like give it back to me like, okay, here you go, I'm done. And I'm like, well, do you want to do that now? Because I'm gonna do this.
Dude, I don't know how many times you had me following Ben Franklin around. I don't know how many times you had me looking for sea shanties. I don't even know if Ben Franklin was in this game, but I know that we were following like some sort of historical figures, trying to escort them from place to place. But it was cool though. Like I really did enjoy. I really appreciated those moments, and it actually got my feet wet and gave me more confidence to be able to like play different kinds of games besides Nintendo and play more open world games because you literally put me through a boot camp of square, triangle, X, circle. Okay, fight, dodge, attack, super attack, whatever. It was like very it was very nice of you. You know what I mean? Like at the time I was like, oh, is he treating me like I'm stupid? But I'm like, no, I actually needed that because I needed to get the muscle memory to be able to, hold my own in these kind of games. So
Like
thank
that,
you for that.
that's when you know how nerdy I am and how like nerd average I am. Because at that moment, I'm like, this is really important. This is serious. Like, you need to understand most games you're gonna play, square is gonna be hit, circle is gonna be like roll or cancel. So it was the whole thing where I'm like, I want you to be able to play video games without ever having to look at the controller for like where the buttons at. So that's where I wanted to get you. And as soon as you get there, I'm like, you know what? Just let her explore. So the thing with me was, and I think it was the most important thing, is finding games that are relevant to you.
Mhm.
I knew that there were some games that you had little to no interest in. The things you were more interested was definitely like the freedom to explore. The story games really got to you.
Yeah.
So I remember at that time I was thinking about what's the best kind of like story games that you can get someone hooked into, but they're not too long. Like just something that can be easy to manage. And of course I thought of Heavy Rain. I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect. Little did I knew that you were gonna play the game in a whole different fashion than I did. And I was gonna witness something that I've never witnessed before. So it was really great for the both of us.
Oh my gosh, I was wrecked after that game. I was emotionally and physically wrecked because I think I played it in the span of like one weekend. And we definitely got different endings for sure and different outcomes.
Yeah,
And I don't think you've ever seen like anyone have like the worst endings of all time for all the characters that were involved in the game. Like I literally got the worst ending for everybody in the game. Like the woman died, the kid died, like I think the pedophile got away free. Like the cop guy like went crazy because he did too many of the
the drugs.
trip. Yeah, the drug the drug called the trip. And
I think it was called like crypto cocaine or something.
and the dad died too, I think. Like everyone just got like completely I think he committed suicide. So I'm like, okay, this
Yeah.
is literally heartbreaking because I played this game for 12 to 15 hours and everyone's probably worse off than if I started playing the game in the first place. That's how I felt.
I mean, for me, it was very interesting. Like I said, you see someone playing Heavy Rain, and I think sometimes those games tell you a lot about the person that you are, like, even though you don't want to. Like, I know I got to a point in the game where they asked me to make a very difficult choice. And it was like, no, F that. I'm not making any choice. I'm not choosing any of the other options. But it's funny to see what people like, just what they choose. So that was a very fun experience for me. That's when I realized that, and by the way, something that I tell you all the time, you should stream your game because you're very in like entertaining when you play.
Oof.
Um, that's when I realized that it was fun to just watch you play. I had as much pleasure watching you play certain games, or walking in when you're stuck on a puzzle or something like that, than playing some of these games. So sometimes, like, I want to like revisit, let's say, BioShock, and instead of playing it, I'm like, you play it. I'm just gonna watch you play it. And so I get my kicks with that.
Well, it's awesome. Like I'm happy that you enjoy me playing video games because sometimes for me, like I don't want to say that. Like, I also enjoy when you play video games and we're able to play video games together, but then we're also able to play video games separately as well. Because then we can talk about it. We can definitely go through and, hey, what are you playing? Where are you in your game? Oh, I'm here. And we can like, have a discourse about it. And then when we're playing together, like obviously that's a whole different ball game too, because, we're in it.
Exactly,
We're in it
sharing that
live
moment.
and in the moment. Yeah, sharing the moment. So it's pretty cool.
And I think really like all these experiences brought us together. So we played a lot of, especially around that time. And if anybody remembers, the tail end of the PS3, that time also for Xbox Arcade, it was just beautiful for indie games. So we played like beautiful games like Flower,
Mm.
and that was also like a revelation for us because we talked about these experiences for so long. Just the fact that we were able to share them. Sometimes you found the games and you were telling me like oh, you should play this. Um, Games that we played that actually made us think a little bit more about the people that we are. Like the game that you can see right now, Doki Doki Universe was a small little games that I had no expectations, but when I played and then I saw you play it, all of a sudden it gave us so much to talk about about like I don't know the way that we are, how does it rated us, and what kind of personality type that we are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really enjoy those games as well. They're kind of different and they're outside of the box and they're not just your typical like yeah, side scroller or beat 'em up or shooter. There's something a little bit more to them and I feel like they're very accessible for a lot of different people. Like we could get our moms to play this game and like she'd be okay. Like they both be okay.
Yeah, accessibility is a great thing when it comes to these smaller titles because a lot more people are able to just get into gaming and realize that gaming is not all about combos and high scores and whatever whatever else is associated with gaming, but then playing together, like literally because before then I think a lot of games that we played was us playing separately, um, and then we started to play games together. Of course, they started to make better experiences for people to be able to join. So something like a way was perfect to play co-op. And I think that we found that that particular studio is our niche.
Yeah, couch co-op all the way. I feel like that's such a good way to play video games. You know what I mean? Like you're side by side with the person. You can share and talk and engage, in the moment. And I think that's pretty cool. You can actually get people's like real reactions and people's real body and facial expressions. So yeah, a way out was really cool. Like that's a game that I think we played once and we've talked about playing it again, but as the opposite like characters to get that perspective as well. But we haven't had a chance to do that yet. But yeah, that one's really fun.
Yeah, and the fact that it's built from the ground up, like these games are built from the ground up to play as two people, whether it is um, the Lego games are made like that a lot of times, where you can go on your own and I can go on my way. We're still helping each other. Some puzzles that you can't solve without the other person. Um, so yeah, I feel like those games really were fun. And then during the pandemic, we played a whole lot of. How's this game called again?
It Takes
It
Two.
Takes Two. Yeah.
Yeah, that game is really fun too. It's made by the same people that made No Way Out, or the same studio, and like it's very unique. Like I feel like the level design is very unique. You do have to use your brain, and you do have to work together, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, before this game, I think that the other games were fine. They were great. They had great mechanics. But this game is really a game. It's a gamer's game. It reminds me of back then. It has all the element, the puzzles, the platforming, the third person shooting sometimes. It just always keeps you on your toes because there's always a new mechanic. Um, and yeah, you cannot play without the other person. So it can make a couple. It can break one too. The same way that a game like Overcooked, which we played, and it
Oh yeah.
almost broke us. But then I realized that if I just follow your orders, we work better. Because I was great at pressing buttons and just like grabbing the plates and bringing them where they need to be brought, but very bad at managing my time.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I'd be sitting there calling out what we need. We need patty, lettuce, blah blah blah. And you'd be like all over the place. Then I'd be like Gordon Ramsay over here, just calling out each ticket.
But see, that's what makes it fun because sometimes in video games and in life, you realize that some people are better suited for certain things, and sometimes you kind of have to take a backseat, um, either to support the other person or to let the person make choices. They're going to take you in different places, right? So I was the one for the longest time bringing in video games, saying, "Oh, we're going to play this, we're going to play that, or you should play this. It's a really good game." And what you did to me is you introduced me to games that you've played that I swore that I would just never play, which is horror games. And
Yeah.
now I'm a Resident Evil guy, and it'll take me like 3 times, like really like more time than most people. Like you can triple the hours because I stop often. I put down a controller often, and I walk out. But I mean, I like Dead Space, and after that, I always said that if they made a Resident Evil that was a little bit more like that, I would probably try it. And then just to mess with me, they did a first person Resident Evil, um, and I loved it.
Yeah, I was so proud of you when you played that game. You beat it. You played it on normal. You were killing those monsters left and right. And
Yeah,
yeah, you did have to take breaks, which is fine. But now, I mean, I know that you've downloaded The Village. The Village is sitting there on your computer. It's ready to go.
yeah.
And so that's going to be your next experience. And then when RE4 comes out, Resident Evil 4, I can't wait for you to play that game because that one is like the pinnacle of the Resident Evil franchise.
Let me tell you something. I finish Inquisition, and then I go into Resident Evil. But
Yeah,
see,
they're two very opposite games, that's for sure.
that's what I found that was very special with us. So we were able to play these games, and Resident Evil was definitely something where I was like, oh, well, you know what? She's teaching me a couple of things about video games. And then came the moment where we both like basically jump brand new into a video game. During the pandemic, we had so much time that we decided to play Destiny 2. And I realized that you're a good tank, very good tank. And I'm a great support guy. I'm gonna just walk behind you, do what I gotta do.
Yeah, if you can come and heal me and I can go balls out and just like rip people apart and like go crazy, that's what we're good at.
Now, I'm here to revive you when you go down, and you're there to slow down the enemy. And
Exactly. I'm there to take all the bullets, soak up all the
yeah,
bullets, try and shoot as many people as I can,
I take care
get
of the
healed.
snipers.
Yeah, come back, get revived again. Yeah, so I really go with like a no fear attitude. I'm like the opposite when I play video games than I am in real life, but it's totally cool. It's yeah.
And like we play these games, and I think it made us realize that, you know what, we can play like those first-person shooters. We can get into like these more like online games because anyone that know me knows that I wasn't really down. I don't know. There's something about the online games that were not really taking my fancy. But then going from this to like Back for Blood, which
Hmm.
is a mix between like a little bit of a horror game, but a lot of action, a lot of shooting. We've played the Man of Medan and the Until Dawns of this world. Um, and then I tried to do something where I tried to bring it back to Halo, but that did not work. I think we both realized that we're way past.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't get what the hype was about Halo because we played Halo after coming off playing all five Gears
Gears
of
of War.
War. So we like demolished Gears of War like back to back to back, and like it was actually really good. I never thought that I would play a Gears of War game in my life, let alone five of them, and actually get like involved and invested in it. So then after playing that and having so much fun with it, when we tried to play Halo, it just wasn't the same. We didn't care about the story, we didn't care about the characters, we didn't really know what was going on. And I just found it was very flat. So I guess it's like different strokes for different folks. Maybe if you grew up with Halo and like you have a lot of good memories of playing with your friends and family and that kind of like, you understand the concept of it, then that's great. It didn't hit for me, for
I feel
sure.
like it's a game that was good in its time, but everybody knows that. But around that time, I was always a PlayStation guy all the way to very recently. And then when we both decided to switch to Xbox because of Game Pass, it was just a smart thing for us. Me having the Series X, you having the Series S, being in the same system for us, it made sense. And just trying to go back into it was very just hard. It was hard. It just wasn't the same. But I'm glad that through that we were able to find like other games that we could play. And what makes it very interesting is that our relationship was always made better by video games. We didn't sacrifice our our good time or quality time. We still do stuff other. It's not like we just focus on video games. But whenever there's like a lull I think that we can complement our life with these experiences. The same way that when there's a new series that come out, you watch it, you talk about it. When it's done, you move on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on the relationship, type of like people you are, because I believe that there's always positives that can come with playing video games. Of course, like granted, like you're both like not hyper competitive or it doesn't turn into like something super negative. Um, and like, somebody's a sore loser or like they just don't want to play together or for them it's a nuisance or they don't want to take the time to like understand how to play, then yeah, it can definitely have its downsides. But I think the fact of like having a little bit of healthy competition is all can always be fun, and to also play a variety of video games. So let's say like one of you is really good at Smash Bros, and someone else is like really good at um, I
Like a
don't know,
racing game,
like a racing game.
Mario
Yeah,
Kart.
exactly. Or Mario Kart or like uh, Donkey Kong Racing or whatever it is. Like you can always switch it up. You don't always have to play the same game over and over. And there's like certain games that I would definitely recommend for everybody as a couple. Like the Lego games are a good example because there's a variety of things that you can do, and you can work together. And of course, like if you're playing in free mode, you can go separately as well and work on stuff, and then come together again and help each other out to finish the remaining puzzles and to gather those bricks.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes down to, um, especially as a gamer, if you know that you have more of that tendency, it's the knowledge of being able to put your game on the side at a moment's notice because it's not more important than what's going on around you in your household. So, of
Hmm.
course, the chores, responsibilities, be able to take some time off for your partner because when you're playing a big game and you've been playing like 3 games, 3 days in a row, um, you can take the fourth day off. Spend some time, maybe ask her what she wants to ask, what she wants to watch, what she wants to do. Um, because I realize that these things can be relationship killers, right? But I think that they don't only like it's not only exclusive to video games. It could be any other
Hmm.
hobby that you have. Some people have that with sports. Some people have that with playing poker or stuff like that. Whatever people do,
Hmm.
but I think
Yeah.
it's important to just realize that the game is there to complement your relationship, just to give you
Hmm.
something extra to share and to talk about. Give you an opportunity to kind of support someone sometimes because you take, like I said, the back seat. Um, and like you said, sometimes it's also about just watching someone else have fun for once, right? If you know something is
Hmm.
really fun, you want them to have fun and you want to encourage them, just sit next to them and watch them play. It's a good
Yeah.
time to be on your phone, do something else, bring your laptop, read something, watch something, and then just keep an eye out to when like she's struggling a little bit and when the other person is struggling a little bit so you can like give them a nudge in the right direction. But I think for us, for I can speak just for me. It made me just valued as it's someone that's taking interest into the thing that I'm interested in, and someone that's trying to understand why I like it so much. And you know, it means the world to me to be able to share this because as a huge nerd, that's the only things I know. So if we can talk Star Wars, we can talk video games. Uh, no, but in all seriousness, I think that it can become a negative thing if you don't value your partner over your whatever video game you're playing or whatever
Hmm.
hobby you have.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. I mean, it goes for anything in life, you know what I mean? Like you said, sports or, gambling or, just hanging out with your friends, everything kind of in moderation. But I also at the same time too, the other person or your partner, they also need to like take it, understand where you're coming from. So maybe they don't have to like it, they don't have to love it, but they at least have to support you in that and also communicate as well. So if they do feel like they are being neglected for something else, it's definitely like a good way to like bring it up in a conversation, and maybe there's some room for growth on both sides to find like a healthy compromise. That's kind of how I feel about it. But so I'll ask you a question then. Do you think if would you be with somebody? I mean, I think you've dated people in the past that didn't really play video
Yeah.
games. But now, like, knowing what you know and like being, the age that you are, would you be with somebody who didn't partake in gaming at all?
I mean, yes, because I think it's not the deciding factor. I think there's other things that are, like I said, more important than that.
Hmm.
It helps that you have someone that you can share those things with, but let's be honest, it would probably be a thing where I would play less games. I would probably find another hobby, and then games would probably be the thing that you play when, let's say, like she's going to see her friends, and then like you play video games and stuff like that. Um, or like whenever the person is busy doing something else, uh, maybe watching the third season of You on Netflix, and now you're playing video games. But I think like there's
Yeah.
always time to be able to fit in your hobbies. But of course, like if you're someone that doesn't share those hobbies, well, you're gonna have to cut into them. But I don't think it's a deciding factor. I just think that it really helps. It helps a whole lot
Yeah,
because
it helps a
imagine,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, imagine would you be with someone that hated every show that you love?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if the person is still a good person and they support you and they understand you, I think that's all that I would need. Like, you don't have to play with me, but at least you understand why I'm doing it and why I like it. That's the most important thing. But once again, when you win the lottery and you found that person that has all of that, plus she likes video games, it's hard to like. If the question is now back to someone that doesn't play video games, probably not. Like, I'm spoiled.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I understand that. I mean, like I said, I do love like our time when we can game together and we can game separately. And, it's really about finding people that are going to support you in that as well. Because I'm someone that's like, oh, you're playing Dragon Age? Okay, well, I've lost you now for about a couple hours. So it will like force me to go like maybe find a new game to play or go start playing something that maybe I wouldn't have thought to play in the first place. Because especially now with XPass, we have so many options. It can be overwhelming too, but I really do love it. So thank you for, taking that time to put me through the PlayStation controller boot camp. I'm a better person for it. I never thought that I would own my own Xbox in my entire life, and that's thanks to you. So
Well, I think we had a lot of really good moments playing together, or even making time to play together.
yeah.
I thank you very much for these moments. I also thank you very much for coming on to this little podcast or little live kind of thing we're doing today. Once again, I'd like to remind everyone that we will be making more videos like this, but we can only make them if you like them. So leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, leave a comment. Please let me know how does gaming has affected your relationship, whether it is positive or negative.
Yeah, or
And
if you have games too that you want to recommend that you played with your partner, or like even just cool games that like we have like indie games or something where you're like, whoa, this game is awesome, like people need to play it, please, yeah, tell us because we're always hungry for new games.
yeah, we'd like to start a conversation with all of y'all and just get to know each other. So, once again, feel free to leave a comment, like, sub, you know what to do. Click, click. I'm gonna let us go here with a horn because I just have to do it. This was the first Dynamite discussions, conversations, convos. I'll find a name for it. As always, take care of yourself and see you next time. Bang, bang.
Bye.